The little girl's scream cut through the hospital lobby like glass shattering in slow motion, sharp enough to make grown adults freeze mid-step. Her small body shook violently on the cold tile floor, hands clawing at the air as if she were drowning in something no one else could see. People stared, some whispered, others looked away, uncomfortable and unsure. In that exact moment, a tired single dad in a janitor's uniform knelt down, pulled a tiny bottle from his pocket, and began blowing bubbles into the chaos, completely unaware that a billionaire woman, standing silently nearby, was watching everything. Before this story continues, pause for a moment. If you believe kindness still matters in a world that often looks away, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us what being human truly means. The janitor's name was Aaron Cole, though most people in the hospital never bothered to learn it. To them, he was just another man in faded blue scrubs pushing a cleaning cart down endless hallways, his shoes worn thin at the heels, his shoulders always slightly slumped as if life itself weighed too much. He worked the night shift mostly, scrubbing floors long after visiting hours ended, because it paid a few dollars more per hour and allowed him to be home during the day with his own daughter. Life had not been kind to Aaron, but it had made him observant, gentle, and painfully aware of what fear looked like in a child's eyes. Aaron had learned that look years ago, the night his wife passed away during childbirth complications that spiraled faster than doctors could stop. In one moment, he became a husband holding a hand growing colder, in the next, a single father holding a newborn who cried the same way this little girl now cried on the hospital floor, panicked, helpless, and inconsolable. That night broke something inside him, but it also taught him survival. He learned how to soothe pain without words, how to calm storms using the smallest acts. The bubble bottle in his pocket was not a toy, it was a tool he had used countless times to calm his own daughter during sleepless nights filled with grief neither of them could name. The girl in the lobby couldn't have been more than 5 years old. Her knees were scraped, her hair tangled, and her breaths came in sharp, uneven bursts that sounded like choking. The adults around her failed to notice the signs of a full-blown sensory overload and panic response. They saw noise, Aaron saw terror. He quietly set his mop aside and lowered himself to her level, his movements slow and non-threatening, as if approaching a frightened animal. He didn't touch her. He didn't speak. He simply dipped the wand into the bottle and blew softly. The bubbles floated into the air, catching the fluorescent lights and turning them into tiny rainbows. One bubble popped near the girl's face. Another drifted higher. Then another. Her screams softened into hiccuping sobs. Her eyes, red and wild moments ago, followed the gentle motion of the floating spheres. Aaron kept blowing, steady and calm, his own breathing slowing with each breath he exhaled. He remembered the nights he sat on the floor with his daughter, exhausted beyond words, praying that just one small thing might bring peace. Unbeknownst to him, the woman standing near the reception desk had gone completely still. She was dressed in an elegant coat, her posture composed, her phone pressed uselessly against her palm. This was Eleanor Whitmore, a name known in boardrooms, financial headlines, and charity galas around the world. She controlled an empire built on technology and investments, her net worth discussed in numbers that most people couldn't comprehend. Yet in this moment, all of that meant nothing. All Eleanor could see was her daughter on the floor, unraveling, and a janitor kneeling beside her doing what money, staff, and security could not. Eleanor's daughter, Lily, had been diagnosed with severe anxiety and sensory processing disorder after a traumatic incident years earlier. Despite the best therapists, private doctors, and elite care, Lily still experienced sudden episodes that felt like the world collapsing around her. Eleanor blamed herself more than anyone else. Her relentless pursuit of success had kept her absent during crucial moments of Lily's early life, and guilt had become her quiet companion. She had built skyscrapers but struggled to build peace inside her own child. The bubbles worked like magic, but magic born of understanding, not spectacle. Lily's breathing began to slow. Her hands stopped clawing at the air and instead reached toward the floating orbs. She sat up slightly, her cries dissolving into quiet sniffles. Aaron didn't smile. He didn't seek praise. He simply continued until the bottle was nearly empty, then gently capped it and waited, patient as stone, until Lily was calm enough to sit still. Hospital staff finally stepped in, embarrassed by their earlier hesitation. A nurse approached, speaking softly, and Lily allowed herself to be guided away. Aaron stood up, retrieved his mop, and turned to return to work, already fading back into invisibility. That was when Eleanor spoke his name, though she didn't know it yet. Her voice stopped him mid-step. She thanked him, not with the detached politeness people often used toward service workers, but with a voice that trembled under the weight of real emotion. Aaron nodded awkwardly, unsure how to respond. Gratitude made him uncomfortable. He wasn't used to being seen. He simply said it was no trouble and mentioned that Bubbles helped his own child during hard moments. That single sentence cracked something open inside Eleanor, because it carried no bitterness, no self-pity, only quiet resilience. In the days that followed, Eleanor couldn't forget the image of that janitor kneeling on the floor, choosing compassion without being asked, rewarded, or even noticed. She began asking questions about him, quietly at first. Hospital administration hesitated, confused by her interest, but complied. She learned about Aaron's long hours, his spotless employment record, his refusal to miss a single parent-teacher meeting despite exhaustion. She learned about his daughter, Maya, and about the scholarships he applied for but never received, the promotions he never pursued because they conflicted with childcare. Aaron, meanwhile, returned to his routine, unaware that his life was already beginning to shift. He struggled daily, stretching paychecks, fixing broken appliances with borrowed tools, fighting the constant fear of medical bills or school expenses pushing him over the edge. Still, he showed up every night, cleaned every spill, and greeted patients with quiet respect. His greatest fear was not poverty, it was failing his daughter the way life had failed him. When Eleanor invited him to her office weeks later, he thought he was in trouble. He wore his cleanest shirt, hands trembling slightly as he sat across from a woman whose world felt galaxies away from his own. She didn't waste time with formalities. She told him what she saw that day, how it changed something inside her, how it reminded her that true strength didn't always come from power or wealth. Then she made him an offer, not charity, but opportunity. Eleanor funded Aaron's education, allowing him to train as a child support specialist while maintaining his income. She arranged flexible work hours and childcare assistance, not as favors but as investments in someone who had already proven his worth through action. Aaron resisted at first, pride and disbelief wrestling inside him, but Eleanor insisted. She told him the truth, the world needed more people like him in places where children felt afraid. Months turned into a year. Aaron transitioned into a new role within the hospital, working directly with pediatric patients experiencing trauma and anxiety. He still carried bubble bottles, but now he also carried training, support, and a sense of purpose he hadn't felt since before his wife died. His daughter thrived, her laughter filling their small apartment with light that had been missing for years. Lily, too, changed. She began to associate hospitals not with fear, but with safety. She trusted again, slowly. Eleanor watched her daughter smile more, sleep better, breathe easier. For the first time, Eleanor allowed herself to believe that presence mattered more than control, that love couldn't be delegated or outsourced. As this story draws near its end, if it has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach people who might be struggling silently. Before the final moments, we have one special request. Please comment below with the words, "Kindness matters," if you believe small actions can change lives more than wealth ever could. Years later, Eleanor would fund an entire program inspired by that moment in the lobby, training hospital staff to recognize emotional crises and respond with empathy rather than procedure. She would credit a janitor in every speech, though most audiences never knew his face. Aaron never sought recognition. He found fulfillment in the quiet victories, the children who calmed, the parents who cried with relief, the knowledge that his pain had not been wasted. And it all began with Bubbles, floating gently through a crowded hospital lobby, reminding everyone watching, especially one billionaire mother, that sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer another human being is simply the willingness to kneel down and care.